Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining us for another episode of Leadership Lean In. We are a nation, tribe, community, group of people trying to get better at leading. So thank you for saying yes to leading in whatever capacity that you currently lead in. And we're really thankful for you doing everything you can to help those that you have influence over. We're going to jump in just a moment to an amazing conversation that I had with Tauren Wells. Some of you might know him as a Grammy award-winning singer. Others of you might know him as a prolific preacher and pastor out of Austin, Texas. And whether you know him as a singer or a pastor, one thing that is true, this guy is a leader. So we're going to jump in just a moment. Thank you for subscribing to this podcast. Leave a comment, whatever you took from this podcast. Let us know where you're leaning in from. And if you don't mind, share it on social media. Let somebody know about Leadership Lean In so we can all lean into this subject together just to get a little bit better. So without any further ado, let's jump into my conversation with Pastor Tauren Wells. Man, I'm so excited to talk about your new book. Congrats. How many books have you written now?
This is the first one.
So we're 15
I haven't written any books.
One book in.
5 albums, 1 book.
5 albums.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what was the process, the differentiation between writing music and going through that whole process, 5 albums versus a book? Give me some comparison and contrast to that.
Yeah. Well, it's a beautiful process. It's a lot more work than songs, I will say, because especially when you get into a certain part of your music career as a songwriter, and I primarily, like, that's what I really love to do is write songs. But you can get real lazy because you constantly collaborate. So sometimes writing an album, I'll just have like a verse or a title, and I'll come into a room with 2 other writers, and we're going to tackle the song together and figure it out and get it done. And so you lean on each other. In this process, like, you carry the ball a long way down the field before the rest of the team really gets involved. And so that was different for me, really carrying it. And it was precious to me as well. That was something that I loved about writing. I started writing, as a kid. I was under the cart of my mom's TJ Maxx cart, and we'd be rolling around, and I had my little spiral notebook in my pen, just writing stories and stuff. And so I think the first place that was able to come out was through songs, but it had always been in my heart, just real young, to write about something. But I wanted to make sure that I was called to it, that it was a message I was called to, that I was passionate about, that God put in my heart, not just something to do. Because, we could all use more things to do, like writing books.
Yeah. Well, you're so bored. I mean, you've got nothing going.
Yes.
So
it's a lame life.
I just feel be promoting a book. Yeah. I always feel like the thing about books that inspired me to write is Max Lucado. I heard him say one time, you never have an audience more captive than when they're reading your writing. And I really like that. You think about, you're an orator, you speak on Sundays, you have this beautiful church in Austin, Texas, you have songs that go on and live forever. What a cool thought that you can, in 6 months from now, someone could be on Cabo on vacation and you're talking to them at the beach. I just like that idea.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I actually didn't really consider that. I will say, I don't know if you can identify with this, but my biggest fear around the book was that it would disappear the day that it comes out. Like, all this pushing it up the hill and the work and the team that comes around it, to make people aware of it. And then it's just gone. May 21st, it's gone. Like yesterday is gone. Little throwback there. But I was encouraged talking to my friend Nick Nilsson, who wrote a book called You Can Live the Dream. And he put that out, I don't know, maybe it was a year ago or so. And he's still getting feedback and posts on Instagram of people who are discovering the message like it's the first time. And so that resonates, man. It's beautiful. And I do hope that this finds its way. The message, more than the book, the message that Jesus communicates in Matthew 5 finds its way into people's hearts for the long haul.
I love that. So tell me about I love the title. I think you embody it. That's why I really think that, this first book is such a cool launching pad for your, author future. Tell me where is the genesis of this project, this book? Why this subject? Why does this matter so much to you that you wrote about it?
Yeah. Well, it started in a very ordinary space. And that was just going through my daily Bible reading plan 2021. And I was doing the Nikki Gumbel and Pippa reading plan. And I was probably like 57 days behind, but that's beside the point. At this particular day, I came across Matthew 5 and Nikki explaining that the word blessed meant happy. And of course, I've been around church long enough to know that, like, I knew the word blessed meant happy, but I don't think that I had ever really grappled with the practical implications of that. And so over the next few weeks and next few months, I just kept coming back to it, like, happy are the poor in spirit. Happy are those who mourn. Happy are the meek. And then I looked at it and I realized, hold up, because when you're looking at the Bible, which you do this so well, when you teach people, we're not just looking at it, we're looking around it. We're putting ourselves on that hillside when Jesus speaks the Sermon on the Mount. We're thinking about, what was Jesus thinking? What was happening? What came before this? And I just kind of had this epiphany that this was the first message Jesus preached that someone wrote down. Now, we know that he was communicating and talking to people throughout the New Testament, and even prior to Matthew 5, but this was, his scholars and theologians agree, first sermon, inaugural sermon. So then I'm like, hold up. This is the first message Jesus decides to showcase that he knows would be echoed throughout history. And the first word he says is happy. And then I'm getting fired up about it right now.
I love it. Yeah.
I'm just, it's crazy to me because he's intentional. He didn't say anything on accident. I love actually how The Chosen depicts this moment because he's like practicing for a few days leading up to this in The Chosen, which, this is an embellishment, but it's like he was a guide too. He was the guide God.
Right.
So he was thinking through this and he intentionally chose this word happy. And so then somehow I just came across that the last word of the Old Testament is curse. So then I'm like, okay, hold on.
Wow.
We've got famous last words, famous first words. The famous last word of the Old Testament is curse. The first word Jesus speaks in this message in Matthew 5, in the first book of your New Testament, is blessed. So then, okay, well, let's take the Genesis back. When does blessed first show up?
Wow.
It shows up in the garden in Genesis. So Jesus points us back to God's original intention for people, which was to bless them.
Wow.
And that blessing is to bring a prosperous, glad, joyful life in all circumstances. So that had me hooked.
And I also I love what you're saying, and I didn't know that. I didn't catch that. That's so insightful. I also just love that this is you. This is the embodiment of your life, your spirit. You have such an infectious attitude, an approach to life. When I'm around you, you have that refreshing spirit and approach to life. Talk to me about your desire for the reader. What do you really want them to walk away with? If you could summarize and go, I hope that people are reading this content and they walk away with X ability or X thought, or this produces X in them. What are some things you're going for?
I can tell that you've written books because you ask the perfect questions. these are softballs. If I can't dunk this, um,
If I can't dunk this, then I'm the Timberwolves at home, game 1 against Golden State, and
bro,
can't score a bucket. Continue.
and Steph's not there.
And Steph's on the
What are
bench.
what are,
And we've been rested for a week. So yes.
and we've been talking smack, and we got 1 point in the first half.
We set an NBA playoff record. We are 12 of 79 attempts from the 3-point line. Continue.
The Timberwolves need joy in their locker room. I got y'all. I got y'all. Well, yeah, I mean, the way to it, and this is the crazy thing about what Jesus is saying, is it's not the path you think it is. The path to joy is actually not a path that we take to the great beyond. Somewhere out in the world, in the cosmos, happiness is waiting for us somewhere. It's what Dallas Willard called the great beyond within. It's
Wow.
the journey inside. The first place Jesus points us is our spirit. Happy are the poor in spirit. Now, there are layers of implications there that I unpack, but I'm also not missing the point that he points us to the inside, because that's where joy is actually generated. And that's where I have had to push myself and lead my emotions and my thoughts and my actions toward what God is trying to do on the inside, because I am a achiever, performer, work, go get it done type person. And when I was 30, 31, I hit a wall internally, not that other people would be able to see, but I felt like inside I was unraveling. My character was unraveling, integrity, all of these things. And I had to figure out, why am I chasing things externally, putting on this front, building this facade that is protecting someone that Jesus died to redeem, to set free? And so that's the beautiful implication about this message, is that we don't have to go out and get joy, that we generate it from within.
Wow.
And of course, I could go on and on about it.
Yeah, I really like that. One of my favorite lines is, the work of the believer is receiving.
Yes.
It quite simply boils down to that this is an inside job. And I always like that idea that for the world standards, it is an outer scoreboard. It's the external. For us, it is an inner scoreboard. And if you can live with that peace and that joy, it's from, not for. I'm living from this, not for wealth, status, fame, you fill in the blank. So I love that. I have to ask you, because it's gone viral, this choir from Indiana, in the beginning was the word. And, people are losing their mind over this. But then I saw a clip of a young man in the same choir, if I'm not mistaken, playing. How proud of you are, and what are your thoughts on this choir?
Well, I love it. I love my alma mater, Indiana Bible College. It's where I met my wife. I did not make it into that chorale the first year I auditioned. I had to work real hard all summer to get on their level. And I came back and I made it in the little group that traveled around and sang. Actually, it was at IBC that I wrote some of my first songs. They were recorded the first time I put a CD in and heard what I wrote back. And so the Dean of Music there, Lyndall Anderson, is a legend. He has put so many ministries and dreams to flight. And I think it's really cool that they're getting some shine right now.
Oh, I mean, they're getting some shine. People are blown away. I say, you don't know about the OG days when they had my boy there, though. Music
No.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I got my suit. I still preach in suits on Sunday because I just can't get away. One of my teachers there, one of my professors would say, "No tie, no anointing."
Well, it's so funny. We're driving back. We were coming back from Palm Springs the other day, and whenever we drive back, we pass where when I was 19, I, got hired at this church, and it was a suit and tie church, Word of Faith church, and we had to wear, a suit to the office, and we couldn't go visit a high school without a tie. Like this would have been blasphemy to them. You're going to go represent God at a
Yeah,
public school without a tie on.
without a tie. What are you thinking?
So we were driving by Burlington Coat Factory. I said, see that Burlington Coat Factory right there? That's where I got all my suits.
Yes, sir. The skinny ties, bro, with the little clip.
They call it a baller on a budget, baby.
That's it. That's amazing, bro.
So tell me, I want to talk real fast about time and energy management.
Yeah.
One of the things I think you're always trying to develop, I just said this yesterday to a group. I'm always trying to develop two things. Really, how do I manage finances better? Always learning about an intellect on finance.
Mm-hmm.
And then time. You never arrive at, I learned time management 20 years ago, so I don't have to focus.
Right.
Now.
Right.
You got music going on. You're leading a flourishing church and community. You got a book coming out. You have a beautiful family, incredible kids. Happy birthday to one of your boys.
Thank you.
Tell me what are some things that really allow you to do what you're doing well for, let's be honest, you're not new to the game. You've been doing this for a long time. What are some values that you have that allow you to be at your best?
That is a great question. I would love your input, Pastor Chad.
Asking you the
I
question.
well, I'm learning this. I did a self-evaluation for 2024 and going into 2025. And I broke up, into categories in my little day one journal, like all of these things. I started with a lot of my output. I put in there things that concerned family, date nights with Lorna, time with my boys, all of those types of things. I put on there like how do I do for receiving personal coaching, not just giving coaching. Pastoral, my pastoral world, like how much did I pursue being pastored, all of that kind of stuff. And so I went through, and basically every category that had to do with output or achievement, your boy was killing. I mean, I put out 10 songs. I turned in a manuscript. We planted a church, did a lot of those things. And so I gave myself the grading system that my kids have now. For some reason, my elementary school kids, they don't get grades. They get these terms like approaching standard, meeting standard, above standard, which I don't like it because I need to see A, B, C, D. But I was using this scale to kind of evaluate my own life. And basically, everything that was external focused, I was above my personal standard for.
Wow.
Anything that was internally focused, I was either meeting the standard or below standard. And probably the biggest red flag to me is, my wife and I both co-lead our church plant. So we co-pastor. She doesn't just work in our home. She is in the office, alongside our team, much more so than I am. And so we're very busy. That said, we had 4 date nights. 4 date nights in 52 weeks. That's 52 Fridays, Pastor Chad. I don't know if you're a big math guy, but that was 52 opportunities and I was missing it. Pastoral voices in my life, meeting standard, had a regular standing phone call with one of my pastors. But that's not the management of the internal world necessarily that you get through counseling. I had 0 counseling hours in 2024. I said to my wife, babe, I realized this is how you become a headline. This is how you bring dishonor to your family. This is how you turn a beautiful life into ash. And so I'm prioritizing you and us in this season. I'm prioritizing my inner world. And so I immediately got with my counselor. I'll be meeting with him after this podcast today just to reset those foundational pillars. And I think the temptation that I face is the more I'm crushing it, the more I feel like I'm doing good because so much of my worth has been connected to my achievements. And if I get real honest, like my worth is only and solely connected to who God says that I am.
Wow.
And we know that cerebrally, we understand that in particular ministry leaders. But my counselor had me go through an exercise recently because he said, what does it look like for you to delight in the Lord? And I
Wow.
was like, you know, spending time with Jesus. And he's like, yeah. What does that look like? What does your prayer time look like? And I'm like, well, it looks a lot like Pastor Chris Hodges' prayer time because, you know, he did a good podcast about that. And so I try to do that. So I've got my playlist and I've got some of my songs and I've got the people I'm praying for and the things I'm working on and all of that and reading my Bible. And I do my Bible in a day and in a year. And he's like, wow, that's a very structured prayer time. I'm like, yeah, you know, it is. Thank you. Yeah, I've worked hard on it. And he just kind of was like, you know, I wonder what your life would look like if the time that you spent with God wasn't spent just working on things with God. And I was like, that's a great thought, you know. He said, what would it look like for you to just spend time with God? And this was so funny, bro. I don't know why I'm like this, but I'm like, that is so good. When I was writing my book, I got an Airbnb about 25 minutes from my house. I could drive up there once a week, spend 3 or 4 hours just being with God. I just be with the Lord, you know? And he just grinned at me and he was like, you could do that, or you could sit in that chair for 10 minutes, shut your phone off, only bring your Bible if you cannot work on a sermon, and just close your eyes and just think about God. And I just laughed at myself like, when did I put being with God in this category where I need to go get an Airbnb to spend time with him? Why are we prone to the big romantic gestures but not just a daily coffee? You know what? It's I'm showing up to impress. I'm showing up, but I don't have to do that with God. So one
Wow.
morning I went outside in my Snuggie and I sat down in my driveway as the sun was coming up and I just heard the birds and I felt the warmth of the sun and I just felt like I was sitting across the table from my son, how God was sitting across the table from me. I know you feel the same way about your kids. I love just looking at my kids.
Yeah.
I love just looking in their face. It's amazing. And I realized that's all God wants. He doesn't have his sleeves rolled up with his hand on his chin, waiting for me to get there so we can get to work. He's with me in that way. And so I'm making that a sacred, regular practice in my life. And I think that's gonna be honestly the only key to longevity for me.
I believe it. I believe it. I mean, what you're saying is you know, to me, one of the things you're a driven, motivated self-starter. So you're going to accomplish a lot. That's always going to be that's God's wiring. That's your personality. That's a gift from God. Not everybody got that. The combat of that will have to be, how do we organically create and carve out space just to be with God? Because that feels counter. I come with agenda because my life is agenda.
Yeah.
And so just to be can be difficult for for leaders, for people that are trying to accomplish things and lead things. And some that I've had to, work on forever and still am working on, of just enjoying the time, enjoying the space, and not feeling like I have to fill it.
Yes. And it feels so much like how you view God matters so much in this, because I thought me bringing my agenda to God was good because that's what God cared about, because for the majority of my life, I've asked God to use me. So I don't want to show up with God and not be usable. But that's not God's ultimate value of his children. My children are actually not very useful to me. Until they're holding my book on Instagram being cute, they're not that useful. But it does not change my affection, my love, my care. And it's easy for me to believe that about my kids. I have found that it's more difficult for me to believe that about myself and how I actually view God. He doesn't just want to use me. He wants to love me.
Wow.
And that is a profound revelation that I feel like God is bringing me on the journey toward.
So good. So good. Well, I'm thankful that you allow us to eavesdrop in on your journey and your conversations with God. Thank you for your new book. I hope everybody goes out and reads it. We'll be happy. We'll be blessed because of the message. And just thank you. Thank you for the deep well that you're drawing from. Every time I talk to you, I'm always blown away by the deep well that you're drawing from. And I know that takes a lot of sacrifice, takes a lot of intentionality. And so thank you for your continual yes. And thank you for putting this choir on the map that we never would have heard about. Had it not been
man, go look up True Praise. That's my title track on the IBC album, True Praise. If you're looking for a nice little choir joint for Easter, Lift Him Up was a song your boy did. You know what I'm saying?
Lift him up.
Yeah. Broken, Don't Pass Me By. These are deep cuts, PC. These are deep cuts.
Did you hear them do the version of What a God? Do you know the song by SCU Worship called What a God?
Yes. I've heard SCU, but I haven't heard IBC. I think we need a little battle of the Bible colleges.
Bro, well, I'll tell you who won it right now. This IBC body bag. I love that song.
They got oil.
Wrote it. But man, that version, that bridge is one of my favorite bridges. So it was really, really cool to hear that.
That's so crazy that this is on your radar.
Oh, bro.
It's amazing.
Where I live. This is where I live, man.
Yes, bro.
I'm a big worship guy. You guys have been around me.
Well, you're a big keys player. Here I am to worship. You've been known to dibble and dabble.
It's not a big deal, man. Thanks for being on, man. Love you.
Love you too, sir. Thank you.